This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, coming at you as I love to do over the airways of ESPN Radio every weekday, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM. Channel 80, we'll have on Alex Rodriguez. I don't know if I'm going to let him on the show after today. I think the man trying to steal my job. He's doing a pretty damn good job on television. Doing a pretty damn good job. No way around that. Looking forward to talking to Alex Rodriguez about all the activity going on in Major League Baseball. Can't wait to do that. The one and only Alex Rodriguez, along with my buddy Jessica Mendoza, does a phenomenal job. And Matt, they'll all be covering the game Sunday night for ESPN, Yankees-Red Sox. I can't wait for that one. We'll see how that goes down. Yankees and Red Sox have split 6 games this season thus far. Okay? They've split it. And after this weekend, they face each other 10 more times. 10 more times. They haven't been separated by more than 2.5 games since April. Boston's presently in the lead with a 1-game lead over the Yankees in the American League East. So it's going to be real interesting to see what goes on with this bunch. Make no mistake about it. I can't wait. I'm expecting my Yankees to handle their business, to do what they do. Looking forward to seeing Severino pitch Sunday. Okay. For all we know, they'll probably split the first 2 games, and then Severino will decide whether or not the Yankees are going to win the series or not. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him Sunday. But I guess we've reached the point where we just can't underestimate the Boston Red Sox any longer. We just can't do it. And on the line with us right now, as promised, is the one and only Alex Rodriguez. Alex, are you there, sir?
What's up, Stephen A?
I tell you, man, I got a problem with you, man. Let me tell you what my problem is with you, Alex Rodriguez. I saw you this morning on television. You were looking pretty damn good, man. The suit was pretty fly, okay? The suit was pretty fly. I've been watching you on television doing your baseball stuff. I don't know if I'm going to allow you on the show after the day because I think you're trying to steal a few jobs, man. I think you're trying to steal a few television jobs.
Well, you're the king of TV, so trying to follow your lead, my brother.
I feel you. I appreciate it, man. Let's get right to it because got a whole bunch of baseball stuff to get into. This series this weekend, Yankees-Red Sox, you'll be calling Game 3 Sunday night with Matt and Jessica. How big of a series is this, considering the fact that we haven't even reached the All-Star break yet?
Well, it's the biggest series I can remember for a long time regular season, and the reason why is you have the 2 Goliaths going up against each other. You have the Yankees that are worth $4 billion. They're making $700 million revenue. You have the Red Sox that are worth $3 billion. They're making almost $500 million in revenue. And they lead in every category, not just economics, but also in power, in pitching, and young talent. But they have real stars with J.D. Martinez and Mookie Betts and Aaron Judge and Stanton. I mean, this is full. You're going to have 3 days sold out, and the biggest 2 starts in Severino's career and so far in David Price's career as a Red Sox is huge.
And you bring up Price. Are we a believer in Price, or is it one of those situations where, damn it, he can't ever stay healthy when it really, really counts? He's not going to be available to you. What's the mentality about Price in Boston?
I think the jury's still out. It's been a mixed bag. But Price is a guy that used to be a north and south pitcher. He depended on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and he would try to throw it right down the middle, and it was good enough because a lot of lefties are not throwing 98. The problem that I see now with Price, he's a 91 to 93, so he's depending on command. Fastballs both sides of the plate, a lot more east and west, not north and south, and command of his cutter, both inside to righties and backdoor to righties, is the key for him. If he's not on, what happens, Stephen A., is that he goes 1 inning, 3 hits, 4 runs, 2 base on balls, like he did against his last start against the Yankees. So this start, there's a lot of recourse.
Who has the best pitching in your mind? I'm talking about over the long haul. I'm talking about looking at the season as we progress forward, thinking about what the season entails, and you would know what a season entails. Who has the best pitching staff to rely upon between these 2 teams?
I mean, I don't think there's a question. It's the Houston Astros. I mean, they're on a historic pace. they're going to go down, Stephen A., if they keep this up as arguably one of the best, if not the best, 5 guys, if they stay healthy, of all time. Where they're weak is their bullpen. And I know Jeff Luna, who went out and got Verlander last year, he is looking around searching to go get a top guy to close games.
I was talking about Boston and New York, though, because I know Houston definitely has the best rotation. I'm talking about between Boston and the Yankees as we look forward to them battling for American League East supremacy, because I'm getting to a point here. Who do you think you can rely upon as a pitching staff, the Yankees or the Red Sox?
Well, I think if you go starting pitching, you give a little bit of an advantage to the Red Sox. And the big key for them is David Price, because if David Price, they have better, stronger, deeper starting pitching than the Yankees. The Yankees have a far much better, superior bullpen. They have the best bullpen in the game by far. They literally have 4 closers in the bullpen. And of course, Chapman gets that responsibility. But David Price is interesting, Stephen A., because he's pitching Game 3, and this is a forecast, a foreshadowing of what's going to happen in October. He will be the Game 3 pitcher. Sale will be 1. The right-hander in the middle with Parcello, and then, Game 3 would be Price. And Joe Torre used to always tell us he wants his best, most clutch pitcher pitching Game 3 because it's a swing game. That's why he always threw Andy Pettitte Game 3. It worked out, 5 championships.
The one and only Alex Rodriguez right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Before I get, I got to, because I'm going to get into Houston in just a second. There's a couple of questions I want to ask you. One about the Yankees and one about the wild card, because obviously the Yankees and Red Sox both are on par to win 100 games this year at least, and one of them is going to end up being a wild card. I hate that, but I'll talk to you about that in a second. Answer this question for me. What was your initial reaction when Girardi was gone and Boone became the manager for the New York Yankees? And where are you now? How are you feeling about him now? And what were your expectations of this new managerial move when it happened, when it went down?
Yeah, so I was a bit surprised, but I think the long story, short story for Girardi is he did an incredible job over 10 years, and unfortunately for him, he was just 27 outs away from going to the World Series in pursuit of his second championship as a manager. So I was a bit surprised. I think a guy like Boone is the great hybrid of old school, new school. He understands numbers, but also understands that it's played by human beings, and there's an unpredictability with that. And it's interesting that these 2 managers are both rookie managers and are doing an incredible job. But, Stephen A., the common denominator with both franchises is they have all-stars running their team. And what I mean by that is Brian Cashman and Dombrowski. And it's going to come down to those 2 guys to see who's going to do what, because the spotlight is on both of them. Both of them have a flair for the dramatics. In 16, it was Theo Epstein with Chapman. In 17, it was Jeff Luno with Verlander. Who is it going to be this year, Stephen A.? Who is it going to be?
Alex Rodriguez, you're getting me worried, because initially my attitude was, look, this is a no-brainer. Yankees are going to handle their business. They've got Judge, they've got Stanton, they've got Sanchez, and all of these boys. But I damn sure didn't expect Boston to look the way that they've looked this year. And now that we're coming down to it, I mean, with the break about to come on, we're talking a situation where the New York Yankees and the Red Sox are perceived as being 2 teams that's going to win in triple digits. Yet one of them is going to be a wild card, and you got the 1-game play-in. I despise that, Alex Rodriguez. I hate it. I think they need to do away with it. I think the first round should be, I think it should be at least a best of 3 for the wild card spot. I really believe that. What are your thoughts about that?
It is scary when you run a marathon for 8 months and then literally you take 1 jump shot. And they say, if you make it, you advance. If you miss, you go home. It is incredible recourse after fighting and doing so much over 8 months. I think is great for the game, Stephen A., as far as because there is no longer can you go and just say, I'm going to start lining up my pitchers from early September. I think your side of it is, which I understand, is, boy, it would be awful if both teams are on pace to win 105 games today, that these 2 teams cannot, essentially be battling for the world championship in the ALCS, because one of them is going home.
But look at it this way, Alex. Look, man, I'm on TV today, okay? I mean, while you were sitting there looking all pretty with your fly suit on, over there in South Street Seaport, I'm on the air shortly after. Damn it, I had a stomach ache about 3 hours ago. If this was 3 hours ago, I'd have had a hard time doing a radio show, let alone being out there playing. My point is, anything can happen in one day. That's not a real recipe for success. It's not some real indication as to whether or not the better team is going to win or whatever. You're giving anybody a chance if you're going by just one night, aren't you?
It's crazy, and regardless of how good the Red Sox or the Yankees are, if you run into a pitcher that's red hot like a Madison Bumgarner, you're going home. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that, I see the recourse. It would be gut-wrenching to see, for both fan bases, to see their team go home after winning 105 games. Boy, that would be a tragedy.
Alex Rodriguez right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. A couple of other subjects. Let's go back to the Houston Astros. To me, they're the reigning defending World Series champions. They're clearly the team to beat because I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care about, I know numbers matter, but when I think about studs, I think about somebody like Justin Verlander. And to me, if I had to give the ball to one person with the money on the line, that's the guy I'm picking. Who you picking?
He's the guy. He's the guy. I mean, first of all, Houston is better this year. They have the best big game pitcher in the game. He's got experience. He's got power. He's got 5 dominant pitches, and he's getting better with age. The other thing is the reason why they're better is they're young crop. They're all better players. They're all 1 year older, and now they have Garrett Cole to back up Verlander. They're a powerhouse, and if they get a closer, they are by far the favorites to win everything.
What team do you think is best suited to beat the Houston Astros in the American League? Who's the one opponent that will give them more trouble than anybody else?
Well, I would have to say the Yankees. I think the Yankees, they feel very familiar with them. I think they're playing better against them as of late. The problem is they have right-handed power pitching that neutralizes a lot of our big power hitters like Stanton and Judge and Sanchez. So I still think that the Yankees, if they get one more starter to go up against their top 3, could be really interesting. But that would be an unbelievable matchup. Explain
to me, why is J.D. Martinez's numbers so much better than Giancarlo Stanton's right now?
Well, I think J.D. Martinez, I played a game against J.D. when he was with the Tigers years ago, and he had 3 home runs at the stadium, one to left, one to center. The third one was to right field in the upper deck. And it was then that I realized this guy is a star and a superstar in the making. But, nobody in the planet is going to forget about Big Papi or replace Big Papi. But what this guy is doing his best attempt to fill some of those shoes that were not filled last year. There was a big hole in that lineup last year. What he's done, he's hitting with power. He's driving in runs. He's hitting for average. He's making great contact. But the other thing, he's a gym rat. He's the first one at the park, last one to go home. And like what he did in Arizona, he is making players around him better. Stephen A., this guy goes to the stadium. He goes to the batting cage at 10 a.m. in the morning. He comes back at 1. He goes there again. And after the games, he goes back in and takes another 50 or 100 swings. He is the Larry Bird of today's game. He is a gym rat.
I'm looking at, and I'm sticking with the Yankees for just a quick second before I move on. We got Judge batting 277. We got Stanton batting 265. But I noticed J.D. Martinez has struck out 77 times this year. Stanton's at 107. Judge is at 105. How concerned should Yankee fans be that these guys just ain't going to be able to get it done when you strike out so prolifically, as both of them did last year, by the way?
Yeah, I think strikeouts are always a big concern. If you think about the last two out of the last 3 championships, Kansas City in 15, number 1 in contact. Last year, Houston Astros, number 1 in contact. And in October, putting the ball in play, being able to have a diverse way of attacking defenses. Look, all these shifts, the way you beat them is by bunting, by hitting and running, by putting the ball in play. They're not meant for double steals. They're meant to defend, slow, predictable, bloated offenses that if there's 27 outs, is easy math, Stephen A. If you're striking out 18 or 20 times, that means you can catch 7 balls and you win the game. That's like Little League. So if you're putting the ball in play 20, 22 times, they don't want that much action. So, yes, it's concerning. And the other thing about Dombrowski and J.D. Martinez that was brilliant, if you think about the contract, he was late to the party, and now he has become the party. Dombrowski held his ground, and signed him for a very favorable contract, $110 million. If you think about Stanton, over $320 million, the Yankees are only inheriting about $260 of that. But value, there's no better value in today's game than J.D. Martinez. Props to Dave Dombrowski.
Alex Rodriguez right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Just a couple of questions before I let you go. Who's the best player in baseball right now? Is it easily Mike Trout?
Is Mike Trout, and he's getting better by the minute. You know, my wish is that a guy like Mike Trout is revealed more and his greatness actually comes out. You know, in today's game, if you have a guy like Mike Trout walking down Madison Avenue, if 2 or 3 people out of 10 recognize him, that's a lot. And for me, that's a problem because everybody in the world should know who Mike Trout is. Not only is he the best player in the game, but he's also an incredible human being, an ambassador, and a great kid with great parents.
But why
right
is it
here
a problem?
from New Jersey.
But why is it a problem? Why do you think it's a problem? In terms of them not knowing him.
If you think about Tom Brady in the NFL or LeBron, it's almost like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. So if our LeBron James, who's Mike Trout, if you have 2, 1, or 3 out of 10, that's not enough. When I came up in the game, it was Griffey, it was Bonds, it was Randy Johnson. Everybody knew Ken Griffey. He was the Michael Jordan of our game, and we played in Seattle together. So that's something that I would love the game to really connect with the next generation of youngsters.
So is that your way of saying that the Major League Baseball needs to do a better job of ingratiating itself with the younger generation of players? Is that where your mindset is?
I think you can say that for every league. Yeah, I mean, you want market share. You want more young people. I mean, I want more personality. When we go to different markets, if we go to San Francisco, I love to get Steph Curry up in the booth for half an inning and tell us how much he loves baseball. Kobe Bryant in L.A. You know, I wish on Sunday we had Tom Brady up there talking about his love of baseball. Because, guys, Stephen A., just like you text me, I have these guys texting me. They're watching. They're paying attention. Well, damn, get on television, tell us how much you love baseball, and bring your audience with you.
But it also helps with the players in baseball, too, A-Rob, because whereas Mike Trout may not have that kind of personality, I don't think Bryce Harper has any problem being known wherever he goes, do you?
No, I don't think so, but it will never compare to where NFL and NBA is today. And I think while we're getting better, I think we can continue to do a much better job. I want to know what school you go to, your favorite band. I want to see your Instagram account. When I watch television, the medium is really important to connect to the player. If I'm just seeing numbers up there is one thing. The other thing is I want to see live cameras on the park. I want to look at my app and see what Mike Trout is doing at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I want the young kids to be obsessed with Harper and see the work, see the T work, see how they lift weight. That's the only way you're going to fall in love and get hooked again.
Well, here's my challenge to Alex Rodriguez. What are you doing about that? Because guess what? Everything that you've done, all the things that you've been through in the sport of baseball, now you're on television doing a hell of a job, by the way. You know all of these athletes. You try to promote the sport, for crying out loud. You're doing a great job of that. What is it that Alex Rodriguez can do? I mean, listen, right now, you know what I think when it comes to baseball, your box office. You should be seen on TV more as far as I'm concerned. I don't see you enough. I hear you all the time, but I don't see Alex Rodriguez enough. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I love the leadership of Manfred and Petit. I think they're doing some great things, but I do think that we have a massive opportunity to reveal more stories, to tell our stories about the game. I mean, look, you have a guy like Stanton. Here's what people don't know about Stanton. He's got parents that adopted him. They're white parents from the West Coast. He turned down scholarships from Stanford, Notre Dame, and Michigan to play football, to play baseball at a smaller college. These are all stories that need to be told. And I mean, Stanton, I looked at him yesterday, and he could be playing in the NFL, NBA. He's a beautiful athlete. Even Stanton, Judge, as big as they are, they can be much larger by revealing these great stories.
Last question for you. Are you sitting down for this one? Are you ready for this?
Down.
It's a 162 game regular season. I say, how about reducing the season from 162 to about 140 and make every playoff series a 7-game series?
Okay. Now you're talking.
How you like that?
I don't mind it. I like it. And here's what I like better. As long as you can convince 30 owners that the industry's gone from $1 billion to $10 billion, that is not going to affect their bottom line, I think you have something. Because when you speak to owners, first you got to start in the pocket and work yourself up to the brain and the heart.
Alex Rodriguez, I'm looking forward to listening to you Sunday night for this Yankees-Red Sox matchup. Keep doing great work, my man. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Stephen A. Appreciate it.
No problem, buddy. One and only Alex Rodriguez right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. If you're wondering, Stephen A., why didn't you ask him anything about PT? No, I'm not doing that. Why am I not doing that? Because I've asked him before, as has everybody's asked him before. We all make mistakes. We move on. You know, see, even when you deserve to be crucified at one moment in time, eventually you get to a point where you move on. It's a long time ago. He ain't playing anymore. He's broadcasting, doing a hell of a job doing broadcasting, by the way. Major League Baseball has moved past it. Television networks have moved past it. I'd be damned if I'm going to hold on to it. We've talked about it enough. I think he's doing a great job calling baseball for ESPN, doing baseball stuff for Fox too. I can't believe I forgot to ask him about his show on CNBC where he's trying to help athletes keep their money. He would know. So all of these things are things that he's doing. I applaud him for it and then some. Alex Rodriguez right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. By the way, baseball season is heating up. Tune in tomorrow night for an American League East rivalry as the Yankees host the Boston Red Sox. Presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. Back to your calls and more on NBA free agency, on Jameis Winston in the NFL, on anything that you heard A-Rod have to say about Boston and New York. This series, this weekend, 3-game series. After that, they got 10 more games against one another for the rest of the season. Remember, there's a battle going on in the American League East. They're a game ahead of the Yankees. You can talk about that, talk about Houston Astros being the team to beat, talk about the best player in baseball. I should have asked her whether or not Mike Trout or Bryce Harper should have ended up in New York, but damn it, don't need to. They got Stanton and Judge. Stick around. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. By the way, I certainly wouldn't pass up on Mike Trout. That much I can promise you. More of your calls in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Elvis. He has not left the building. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's going on, man? How are you?
What's going on, brother? We doing good. How's everything over there?
I'm doing good. Talk to me.
So I want your opinion. So right now I'm considering the NBA the league of the American people. Because honestly, when you hear about football these days, you're hearing bad news. You're hearing players, franchise players, touching and groping women and stuff like that. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, what do you think about the NBA now taking that leap and becoming Americans League?
I don't understand what you're suggesting.
What
does that mean? What does that mean?
That we consider that basketball has become more popular now than the NFL, because the NFL
it's definitely more popular globally, but the ratings show that's not the case in the United States of America. NFL is still king, and to be quite honest with you, I almost don't think it's fair. And the reason why I don't think it's fair is because the reason why the NFL is so successful is because you only got 16 games. Every weekend is an event. You understand that you could be eliminated from the playoffs inside the first 3 weeks of an NFL season? The season could be over for you. That's not the case in basketball. Basketball is an 82-game stretch. It's that kind of a marathon. So because of that, I think that benefits the NFL tremendously.
What do you think about if LeBron goes to the Lakers, if the stature of the NBA will go more up than the NFL?
If LeBron did what?
If LeBron made the move to the Lakers, would that bring the NBA to another stature?
No, I think it'll elevate it some, but not above the NFL. NFL is king because NFL it's an event. It's an event. It has nothing to do with competing with other sports. They only have 16 games. So because they only have 16 games, it's just a different deal.
So like everything from Kaepernick to this guy.
My man. How many different ways do I have to answer your question, Elvis? How much more definitive do I have to be?
No, you're right. You're right.
Thank you. Take it easy, bro. Have a good day. Let's go to Matt. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me, Matt.
Stephen A. Matt Bosler from Southern Illinois, a father to a daughter, my beautiful daughter Magnolia. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the NFL players and how we should be holding them to a certain standard.
Okay.
We have expectations of them. I'm an educator here in Southern Illinois. All the kids look up to these players, and we have to hold them to a higher standard, and we have to have swift consequences to any kind of criminal acts that they're doing. Do you agree?
Yes, but I will say this. Let's make sure we're fair. Let's make sure that we don't castigate or excoriate all of them because of the actions of a few. I got news for you. It's a microcosm. It's just a replica of society. You know, you have folks in the media business. You have folks on Wall Street. You have folks in all walks of life in the world of corporate America and beyond that transgress. It doesn't paint the entire industry with a broad brush, and it shouldn't taint professional athletes with a broad brush. I give you an example. We got Greg Hardy, right? Right, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got Greg Hardy. We got Jameis Winston acting up. We had Ray Rice with his transgressions. We had Ray McDonald with his transgressions, right? I gave you 4 names right there, right?
Oh, yeah.
What about LeBron James? Doesn't he?
No.
Can you conduct yourself any better as a role model?
Right.
How about Kevin Durant? How about Kevin Durant?
Exactly.
How about Steph Curry?
Exactly.
How about Klay
These are
Thompson?
the players we need to spotlight on.
So what I'm saying is, it's not just about the spotlight on them. It's proof that the actions of a few shouldn't taint the many, and it shouldn't taint the whole. Let's compartmentalize. If a player came to work late, right? 85 times. Why are we saying these guys? How come we're not seeing him?
Right.
That's what we have to make sure that we do in the interest of fairness as God-fearing individuals and human beings. We have to be fair enough to recognize and compartmentalize that the transgressions of a few is just that. It does not taint the many. And we have to be fair. We can't sit up there going like this. Well, we got to do something about these athletes. What do you mean we got to do something about these athletes? No, we got to do something about them. The vast majority of athletes know how to act.
Right. We got to do something about these specific players who continue to do these things.
That's right.
I mean, the whole Winston thing is unbelievable. How he's not suspended from the league this year for that. I mean, there's another time.
At least 6 to 8 games.
But come on.
At least 6 to 8 games. At least 6 to 8 games. How it's not at least that is beyond me. Matt, I got to run now. I appreciate the call. Thank you. Jack, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen, I just kind of wanted to talk to you about my input on this whole Jameis Winston situation. He's not taking, the responsibility for his actions. He's using his age and the booze as an excuse.
Correct.
And a lesson that my father taught me when I was young, he said, alcohol doesn't make you a different person. It actually shows you who you really are.
Okay.
And I asked him what that meant, and he said, well, when you're sober, you have these filters and these blocks up of what you know you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. And when you become so drunk, so inebriated, those blocks and those dams are no longer there. And the real you comes out because you just can no longer control your actions. And that's who you really are as a person. And when I see Jameis Winston and I look at his past transgressions and everything, it follows that pattern that this incident in particular, it wasn't, isolated. It wasn't, I was too drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. And it seems to be that it really is revealing who he really is as a person, that he thinks that those type of actions and groping and everything like that isn't a problem. There's nothing wrong with it. And the rules don't apply to him. And it's sad.
Well, listen, first of all, he clearly knows something's wrong with it, sir, because he tried to hide it. See, if there's nothing wrong with it, you ain't hiding anything. So that's number one. All right. And number two, if you're trying to hide it, but you're still doing it, it's because you're confident you can get away with it.
He's gotten away with it in college. I mean, there was no major repercussions. And the 3-game suspension, like everyone has said, it's supposed to be 6. So instead of getting the full brunt of a punishment, he's getting essentially half of it.
Gotcha.
Where's the big lesson?
Well. Let's also make sure that we obligate the NFL to give us an explanation, because their explanation doesn't suffice. We haven't heard an explicit explanation from them as to why it's not 6 or 8 games and it's just 3. But I got to run, Jack. I appreciate the call and I thank you for it.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to the phones we go, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Richard, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yesterday we were just going over some of the local stuff here with Dallas Mavericks about whether they should get Boogie Cousins or DeAndre Jordan.
Definitely not Boogie Cousins. Go ahead.
Do you think that Rick Carlisle is hard to work with as a coach? I know Rondo didn't work out here, and is that going to play into the Cuban?
Well, I think that is a legitimate question. Now, in fairness and in the interest of full disclosure, Rick Carlisle and I go back 20 years. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a good man. I will be the first to admit that at least at times in the past, he was an acquired taste because people's skills were not his strong point. And I'll just leave it at that. He is no nonsense. He does play. It is going to be his way or the highway. And he has had a problem with a few players because of that mentality. However, he's a champion. He's universally respected as a great coach. Dirk Nowitzki swears by him. Jason Kidd and Jason Terry and those guys never had a problem playing for him. And if Mark Cuban thought it was that big of a problem, Mark Cuban would have gotten rid of him a long time ago instead of giving him 2 extensions. So that's
right.
my
last point
question.
is, will Luka Doncic be here in 5 years? Thanks for taking my call.
I think so. If he's as gifted as he sounds, and I think he will be, and I think that in that system, Rick Carlisle is such a good coach that he'll cater to his strengths. I think he will be. Zach, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. One, I want to say, love what you do, and your radio show makes the day go so much better.
Thank you.
Love it. Love your passion, especially today in regard to this Winston issue. But my question is, why is it that Jameis Winston, who has been accused of sexual assault twice and has had all these disciplinary issues, why does he have a job?
Stop right there. Stop right there. Jameis Winston has only had one issue in the NFL. Everything else was before he got here.
Okay. I would still say it shows a pattern of behavior that needs to be monitored. But why does he have a job while Colin Kaepernick, who knelt for something he believed in, does not?
Because when you, first of all, what he did arguably doesn't affect the bottom line as much as Colin Kaepernick does. And number 2, and one thing folks don't think about enough, Zach, is that the issue of institutional control on the part of the NFL is much, much easier to exact against an individual who is engaging in lawlessness like Jameis Winston, as opposed to Colin Kaepernick, who broke no laws. He's just an activist with an incredible conscience.
That makes sense.
That's why. Thanks a lot for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. Brian, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yes, 2 points, Stephen A. First point is, how does the NBA even let LeBron go to L.A. after the whole Chris Paul thing? There's clearly...
Stop right there. Chris Paul involved a trade. He was being traded from a team where the NBA was serving as the de facto owners because the board of governors, which was the owners, were looking for a new owner for the New Orleans Hornets franchise. So the league were de facto owners at that particular moment in time and didn't approve the deal. In the case of LeBron James, there is no deal. He's an unrestricted free agent, free to go where he chooses because the collective bargaining and league rules allow it.
Okay. I thought there was more politics involved, but
Nope.
I understand what you're saying. Second point is, in my opinion, if I was LeBron James' agent, I would say, you know how you're clearly above Michael Jordan is that you stay in Cleveland right now. You win one more championship in the next 8 years. You are a legend, not only in that, bigger legend.
Yeah,
in that
I got it. I got it. I got to run, Brian. I appreciate the call. That doesn't work because Cleveland ain't winning a championship. Even with LeBron there because they can't get anybody to come near to Cleveland with them. Derek, Miami, you're the last caller. Real quick, Derek, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., real quick, let me say this. Loved you at Bishop Dewey's church. Listen, my question to the audience is, since when did we start holding black athletes at a higher standard than we hold the President of the United States, who has done the same behavior, but it's not considered reckless lawlessness, but yet when it comes to a black athlete that may have done the same thing and is guilty of it, and I don't condone it, but we hold him as at a higher standard than we hold the very President of the United States.
Well, my response to you is this. You're right, but make no mistake about it. It ain't even a black athlete. It's any professional athlete. How in God's name have we regressed as a nation to the point that we're holding, nobody's excusing Jameis Winston. He should be suspended for 6 to 8 games. Damn it, he should have been arrested. But when we hold young men to a higher standard than we hold somebody we elect as the commander-in-chief, that tells us something about our nation at this moment in time. Enjoy your week and talk to you Monday. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.